10 states are suing the Biden administration over the vaccine mandate on healthcare workers. The coalition says the mandate is unlawful under federal law. Inflation has hit a 31-year high, and consumers are feeling the effects in various industries. This comes as the IRS announced higher tax brackets and a bigger standard deduction. And the death toll from the Astroworld Festival has now risen to 9 after a young woman who was fighting for her life in a Houston hospital has died from her injuries. Tune in to Deep Dive as we explore these topics and more. Hello and welcome. This is Deep Dive and I'm Tiffany Meier. 10 states are suing the Biden administration over the vaccine mandate on healthcare workers. A federal appeals court has temporarily blocked the mandate on private businesses, but the one on healthcare workers remains. The healthcare mandate does not include the testing out option. It would affect around 17 million nurses and other healthcare workers. Missouri's Attorney General is leading the coalition. All the other attorney generals in the suit are also Republican. The coalition says the mandate is unlawful under federal law in part because the federal government is trying to wrest away compulsory vaccination power that has, quote, always been the province of and still properly belongs to the states. The 58-page filing in federal court in Missouri states vaccination requirements are matters that depends on local factors and conditions. Whatever might make sense in New York, St. Louis, or Omaha could be decidedly counterproductive and harmful in rural communities like Memphis, Missouri, or McCook, Nebraska. Adding federalism allows states to tailor such matters in the best interests of their communities. The heavy hand of CMS's nationwide mandate does not. This court should thus set aside that rule as unlawful agency action under the Administrative Procedure Act. The coalition adds the mandate is poised to exacerbate an already alarming shortage of healthcare workers. And healthcare isn't the only area affecting Americans. Inflation has hit a 31-year high, the effects rippling across various industries. Inflation pressures are also brewing in the labor market, where an acute shortage of workers is driving wages higher.
So in the holiday season, we're still seeing some things that aren't going up in price, like apparel. We are seeing things that are going up in price, again, like furnishings.
The number of Americans filing claims for unemployment benefit has fallen dramatically, but high inflation is eroding wage gains, creating another crisis for the Biden administration.
Gas prices are outrageous. They're holding up all these boats in the water, they say, not letting them come in the port. But people are suffering, especially people in middle class and low class cannot afford to be paying gas prices of $4. Soon it'll be $4.
The president's approval rating has been falling as Americans grow more anxious about the economy. Broadening inflationary pressures could also complicate the Federal Reserve's message. The Fed last week restated that high inflation is expected to be transitory.
Gas prices today are ridiculous, all right, in that, what I think I saw, I was on the New Jersey Turnpike and it was $4.14. So I decided, just for premium, so I decided to drive to Delaware, right? And in Delaware, I think it was like 10 cents more, so you just get it and you keep moving.
Both the White House and the Fed have maintained that prices will fall once supply bottlenecks start easing. One area seeing rising prices, rent in Manhattan. Landlords in Manhattan were offering steep discounts on properties, but not anymore. In October, Manhattan rent rose at the highest rate in more than a decade. The median price for an apartment in Manhattan, more than $3,300. That's up 18% from a year ago. Two-bedroom apartments are up 20% from a year ago at a whopping $5,100 a month. Jonathan Miller, president and CEO of Miller Samuel, says he expects this trend to continue, especially as international travel demand increases and corporate Americans return to work. And it's not just the housing sector. Thanksgiving dinner is set to cost more this year. The Chicago Tribune reports the cost of the annual holiday meal is expected to rise about 3 to 4%. Analysts say bird prices, turkeys in particular, have been soaring recently. While the USDA says frozen turkey prices are up 22% from last year. Cost increases are being blamed on a drop in production and inflation. And the inflation is set to last past Thanksgiving. Americans are expected to pay higher heating costs this winter.
It's coming. So we flip the fireplace on and get a little heat that way instead of turning the furnace up.
That's because heating bills for many Iowans could nearly double this winter. A warning from the state's largest power provider, Mid-American Energy.
We're all hardworking middle-class folks, so, we can't go too far out of our means to make ends meet, but, you still got to eat, you still got to live.
On Wednesday, the U.S. once again woke up to sticker shock. Gas, cars, energy, and food, just some consumer goods that rose 0.9% together on average in October and are up 6.2% this past year, the biggest 12-month increase since 1990. The Lenses were also out shopping early for their Thanksgiving dinner.
Did you notice that prices were a little bit higher?
Yes, quite a bit higher.
And soon the couple will escape the Iowa cold and their high energy bill for Arizona, but it will still cost them.
We have a motorhome. It costs a lot to go to Arizona, but we're going anyway.
Gas in the state is nearly $3.20 a gallon, up from more than $1 in the last year. Ben Thompson is trying to avoid the pain at the pump.
I price shop some. That's how I'm out here. The Casey's that I was at was about 44 cents more expensive per gallon than this one.
He says his 16-gallon tank costs him $10 more on average. At Dewey Ford Car Dealership in Ankeny, a lot that typically holds 900 cars just has 61.
I cannot keep hybrid vehicles on my lot. They want to be able to have that so they're not going to the gas pumps to have to go through that.
Customers may save on gas by going electric, but the prices of cars are higher than ever. Used cars jumped 2.5% last month, with new cars up 1.4%. A fallout from labor shortages, a supply chain crunch, and consumer demand all meeting the road.
Customers are really struggling at this point. When you go back through the last few years, nobody's ever paid full price for cars.
President Biden has taken a series of steps to unclog supply chains and, by extension, ease price increases. Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen has pointed to the middle to end of next year as when inflation rates may improve. And higher inflation means higher tax brackets and a bigger standard deduction. The IRS said Wednesday that tax brackets will be higher next year due to surging inflation. Tax bracket thresholds all rose about 3%. That's the biggest increase in 4 years. It reflects rising consumer prices. That means for married couples in the top income bracket, the rate will still be 37%, but the threshold will increase by nearly $20,000. It also means you'll be able to deduct more and contribute an extra $1,000 to your healthcare flexible spending account. You'll see the changes for next year's tax returns that are filed in early 2023. Meanwhile, Senator Joe Manchin is sounding the alarm on inflation. The Democrat took to Twitter on Wednesday, tweeting, "By all accounts, the threat posed by record inflation to the American people is not transitory and is instead getting worse. From the grocery store to the gas pump, Americans know the inflation tax is real, and D.C. can no longer ignore the economic pain Americans feel every day." In the wake of unprecedented spending, Manchin is calling for fiscal responsibility and for his party to limit its spending to combat inflation, or else he won't support President Biden's larger social spending bill. He made his stance clear earlier this month.
I will not support a bill that is this consequential without thoroughly understanding the impact that it'll have on our national debt, our economy, and most importantly, all of our American people.
And after the latest inflation data, Biden says fighting inflation will now be a top priority for the administration.
Many people remain unsettled about the economy, and we all know why. They see higher prices, and we're tracking these issues and trying to figure out how to tackle them head on.
Biden offered his infrastructure plan as the solution if Americans can wait for construction to begin. And now for an update on the Astroworld tragedy. The death toll has risen to 9. Bardi Shahani passed away from her injuries. That's according to her attorney on Wednesday. The family of Texas A&M student Bardi Shahani announced that she died from injuries she sustained at the Astroworld Festival in Houston on Friday. The 22-year-old was a senior at Texas A&M University. A GoFundMe page started by her sister raised $58,000 to pay for her medical expenses in the ICU. At least one other person is still in critical condition with injuries from the surging crowd at rapper Travis Scott's Astroworld Festival performance. And another of the victims has been identified. Spring Branch Independent School District spokesperson Terry Abbott identified that student as John Hilgert. Hilgert was a 9th grader at Memorial High School in the Houston area. And those involved in the event, including rapper Travis Scott and concert promoter Live Nation, are under intense scrutiny and facing lawsuits over how the tragedy played out. Scott has said he would pay for funeral costs and provide free mental health services to those affected by the tragedy. 3 people remain hospitalized. Among those severely hurt, a 9-year-old boy who is now in a medically induced coma. At least 58 lawsuits have been filed in connection with the Astroworld Festival incident. Rapper Travis Scott's attorney is blasting finger-pointing and inconsistencies by Houston city officials. An investigation is underway by Houston police as to what exactly triggered the concert to take a deadly turn. And now, before we end, in a galaxy neighboring ours, astronomers have discovered a young black hole. It's in the large Magellanic Cloud galaxy about 160,000 light years away from Earth. The black hole is 11 times the mass of our sun. It was hiding in a cluster of thousands of stars. Astronomers found it using the European Southern Observatory's huge telescope in Chile. A black hole can be tricky to spot unless one can observe its actions. In this case, astronomers notice how the black hole's gravity influenced the motion of a nearby star. This is the first time researchers use this method to detect these cosmic objects. But experts say it could be used to discover black holes in our own universe. But what do you think? Let me know below. Thanks for tuning in to Deep Dive. I'm Tiffany Meier, and have a wonderful weekend.